right? So language or the hand-on skills, all of that can be in your level 2, right? And the bottom level are like many tiny specific abilities that we can, right? So like if you see, let's say it's about verbal intelligence, let's say. So under verbal intelligence, so that is itself a cognitive domain variance. That is your second level. But and then what will come under the first level? You can have spelling, or you can have comprehension, right? You can have fluency. All of that are tiny specific abilities. So he said under specific abilities, there is also tiny specific abilities we must carry. So that is your burnout talking about. And then comes the Cattle's theory. So here, Cattle, he came up with a very important concept. He said, he people, they talked about general intelligence, specific intelligence, and how they are distinct from each other, how they cannot be together, or how they are dependent on each other. All of that these people talked about. But this Cattle, he mainly talked about two different types of intelligence. That is your fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Okay, so what he meant by this term is that your fluid intelligence is your raw mental ability. So the whatever that you learn, okay. So whatever that you learn newly, all of that can be your fluid intelligence. So from your childhood, whatever that you learn new, or whatever that is taught to you, like this is red, or these are the different types of colors, or the languages that you learn, something that is new. All of that you can call it as fluid intelligence. And then comes your crystallized intelligence. So these are like the um, accumulated knowledge that you have, or the skills that you develop from the fluid intelligence. Okay, so let's say in fluid intelligence, you learn different words, like you learn alphabets, you learn A, B, C, D, and then you also learn different words, like the basic words. But from those words, you try to develop your vocabulary further, like learning complex words, learning how to frame a sentence, abstract sentences, right? So all of that you learn that those complex or the comprehension that you learn after that, or the vocabulary that you develop after developing your basic skills, all of that will be your crystallized intelligence. That reason part is you cannot develop fluid intelligence. So that is something you need to know. But if you see this crystallized intelligence, that can develop till your lifetime, or till whatever the life is, you can be developing. So that is your distinction between fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Okay, so this is something very important given by Cattell. Now, next comes your theory, Arthur Jensen's theory of intelligence. Okay, so this person mainly talked about different levels of intelligence. So, like level one, he talked about associative intelligence, or the level two, he talked about the conceptual intelligence. We all say, but he also focused on the different cultural ethnics that plays a role in intelligence. He said that people who live in a certain region like Africa, and people who live in America, how they are different from each other. And when he analyzed, he understood that certain people who are in Africa and America, they all had a certain ability that is same, that is in same level. But a certain different abilities, he saw that they had difficulties. Like the vocabulary development, he saw there is a difficulty in African population. But then he also understood that the mathematical or the spatial ability is something both of the community, I mean, both of the cultural people, they had the same type of intelligence. And also, he talked about how the siblings or the twin, so all of the studies he did, how genes can be related to each other, how people having the identical twins we call, so those identical twins, how sharing genes, how they are influencing the individuals' intelligence. So mostly they understood this identical twins. They shared like the same type of intelligence, even though they were reared apart in different parts of the world. And they also understood that the siblings, so siblings who are gone who have born together, grown together, even though they are grown together, reared together, they still had differences in their intelligence. So all of these genetic factors also he studied. Okay, so this is your Arthur Jensen's theory of intelligence. So with this, we finish the classical theories of intelligence. Okay, so next we get into the contemporary theories, the theories that came into existence after all these perspectives. So that is your contemporary theories. So under contemporary theories, we have Gardner's theory of intelligence, very famous theory. So this person also denied the fact that we all have general intelligence. Okay, he said that we all have specific intelligence only, and we all excel in a certain specific intelligence alone. There is no general intelligence. And with that, he gave around like eight independent intelligences. Okay, so one is your linguistic or the verbal intelligence. Next is your logical or mathematical intelligence, and then your naturalist intelligence, the bodily or kinesthetic intelligence, musical, rhythmic, right, and interpersonal, social, intrapersonal, and then the visual or spatial intelligence. So what he meant by all of this is that linguistic or verbal intelligence is nothing but there are certain people who are called as word smart, so they are good at writing, they are good at reading, and they're also good at storytelling. So these people have very good verbal intelligence. Okay, and then comes your logical or mathematical. So these people are very good at numbers. So numbers, reasoning, right? So the calculating, analyzing part, all of that they are very good at it. And then your naturalist. So naturalist is something like we call them as nature smart. So they would be able to identify the plants, animals, patterns in the nature, like the flora and fauna. They'll be very keen about those aspects. So those people you would call it as naturalist. Okay, and then your bodily or kinesthetic intelligence. So these people are good at acting, let's say, or dancing, or even sports. Right, so all of those people have good bodily or kinesthetic intelligence. Okay, and then your musical or rhythmic intelligence. So the recognizing patterns in sound, the vocal intelligence that they carry, all of that will be here. And then your interpersonal or social intelligence, so understanding other people's feelings, or leading a team, or initiating a relationship. Okay, so all of that will be here. And then intrapersonal or introspective, it's nothing but understanding themselves. So intra is nothing but something that is inward, something that is to do with the self. So they are very good at understanding themselves, like self-reflection, introspection, they will call. Right? So all of that they will be very good. And then your visual or spatial intelligence, so that's nothing but the picture, or the artist, let's say, so the drawing or mapping something or visualizing something. They will be very good at it. So these are the different types of specific intelligence this person gave. Okay, so next we will go to the process-oriented approaches. Okay, in that also we have different theories. One is your Sternberg triarchic theory of intelligence. So Sternberg, he gave like three different types of intelligence, like Thorndike, he also gave three different types of intelligence. So that is your analytic intelligence, practical intelligence, creative intelligence. Now what are they? So this analytical intelligence or exponential intelligence. Okay, so that means um, they are very good at breaking problems into parts or comparing certain events and judging and analyzing certain things in a situation, right? So they are very good at it. So they are called they have good analytical intelligence. Okay, so that is also called as componential intelligence, we would say. Okay, so and then your creative intelligence. So if you see this creative intelligence, it's also called as experiential intelligence, we would say. So this creative, as you all know, inventing something, imagining something, or trying to adapt with the new situation, generating ideas, right? So these people are very good at it. So that means they have the creative intelligence or experiential intelligence based on the experience that they go through. They would try to create new ideas. Okay. And then your practical intelligence. So practical intelligence is also called as contextual intelligence. So that means whatever that you learn, these individuals, they will be easily able to apply it in the everyday life that they are adapting to the environment that they are present. So they are also called as street smarts. So all of them, they will come under this type of intelligence, which is practical intelligence. So these are the three different types of intelligence this person standard came up with. And then this is your process-oriented approach. Okay. So next comes your other theories, other different theories that are apart from all of this what we have studied. First is your Anderson's theory of cognitive development. So this theory attempts to synthesize low-level and high-level views of intelligence as well as general and specific abilities while incorporating a developmental dimension. So that means this theory combines both general and specific abilities. And this theory also says that we gain knowledge through two things. That is your specific processing. So, like something that is very automatic and quick, and also your general thinking that is like applying anything to your problem. Okay, and he also like this person also said knowledge is acquired through two different tools: so central processing part and information processing part. So that means central processing is nothing but anything that you learn newly, right? So anything that comes from within, all of that you will call it as from the basic that you learn, all of that you will call it as central processing. But information processing is just like that, going around, and with that you will learn certain things, and from that you will make meaning. That is your information processing. So this theory is framed within Fodor's general theory of cognitive architecture. So that theory is also related to this type of theory given by Anderson. Okay, so it proposes that individual differences in IQ are related to central processes of thought. So that's what he said, that whatever individual differences that we can in intelligence, that is because of the different subjective experiences that we go through from our childhood. So that is what the central processing, whatever basic or the foundation that we gain from our childhood, because of that only we have individual differences in IQ. Okay, and then your cognitive development is related to dedicated information processing knowledge. So whatever cognitively that you develop, so the critical thinking part, or whatever that you understand situation or analyze a situation, all of that can be done because of the experience that you carry. So this is like given by Arthur, I mean Anderson. So this person said that we have uh, general and specific intelligence, and they are combined to each other, combined with each other, and how the different modules are relating to each other, and how they play a different role in different individuals' life. Okay, so that is your Anderson's theory, and then Ising's structural theory. Okay, so he mainly talked about how the biological basis or the neurological basis plays an important role in intelligence. So with that, he came up with three components. One is your reaction time, and then your inspection time, and then your average evoke potential. So reaction time, if you see, it's nothing but the way you respond to something. So how fast you are able to respond to something, the mental speed that you carry, right? So when you have good mental speed, that means you have higher intelligence. Okay, so that is your reaction time talking about. And then there is inspection time. So that means less time needed to understand a stimulus. So how much time you take to understand something, to learn something. Okay, so that means the inspection time. So when you take very less time to understand something or to learn something new, that means you have higher intelligence. But reaction time is opposite of it. It's the way you react to something or you respond to something. Some kind of stimulus is given to you and how you respond to it. That is your reaction time. Inspection time is how you gain something or how you learn something. Okay. And then your average evoke potential. So that you will also say AEP, average evoked potential. So the more complex or faster your brain waves are, that means you have brighter mind or you have a good intelligence. So the in EEG, we have potentials. So the evoked potential, we would say. In that we have average evoked potential. So the brain waves that you see, when the waves are, with high frequency, that means these individuals have very high intelligence. So that is how this Eisen categorized it. Right? So this is your Eisen structural theory, mainly focused on the biological basis. And then your SES is bioecological theory or also biological theory, we would say. So this person mainly talked that we are all, born with multiple mental potential that can be biological. So these multiple intelligence are biological based and limit the mental processes. So whatever the environment that is around, before that we have biological component. That biological component only decides a lot of things. So this person talked about it. So he also said, so whatever the experience that we go through or the environment that we are around, that is just adding to it or that is just developing whatever that we already possess. And that does not give you something new or you cannot develop something new without any biological basis. So that is what this SSI's biological theory mainly talk about. Okay, so that means, let's say, for example, a child, who has already a good, mathematical intelligence or analytical intelligence. So when they have that mathematical potential, born with that mathematical potential, and they are raised with this mathematical rich environment that flourishes that type of intelligence. That means the child can thrive with that type of intelligence. But if they do not have mathematical intelligence already born with it, and they are given so much, guidance or training, they will still not be able to develop it. So that is your SSI's biological theory talking. Okay, so next we come into the emotional intelligence theory. So, what is emotional intelligence? So, if you see, emotional intelligence is like the ability to understand and also manage your own emotions and influencing others' emotions. So, that you will call it as emotional intelligence. So, the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and to influence others. Right? So, that we will call it as emotional intelligence. So, under that, we have so this person called Goldman, he came up with uh, like this four categories. So that one is self-awareness, and then also social awareness, self-regulation or self-management, and then relationship management. So what he meant by that is that self-awareness is nothing but recognizing your own emotions. So whatever emotions that you carry, are you able to understand it? Are you able to understand why it's happening, what triggered it? So that is your self-awareness. And then your social awareness is empathizing others. So like building relationship with others or understanding another person's feelings and emotions. That is your social awareness. Okay. But your self management is like controlling your uh, impulses or whatever, at the heat of the moment when you have anger, how tolerant are you or how are you able to change it or regulate it into a healthier way of showing it. So all of that you will call it as self-management or self-regulation also. And then comes your relationship management. So this relationship management is something like having social interactions, and in that social interaction, are you able to understand certain individuals? So if you see the components under it, the inspiration, leadership. So the leaders mostly they will be having good Relationship management. So that means they will be able to initiate certain things with their team. They will also be able to, solve certain issues between members, the team members, right? Developing others, influencing others, change catalysts. So they will know what direction they should let the people go. Right, so whatever they say, the people will believe or they will follow. And so all of that you will call it as relationship management. So these are like the different components this person gave for emotional intelligence we all carry. So with this, we finish intelligence part. Okay. So intelligence is nothing but the definition that we had, the aggregate or global capacity of an individual to act purposefully, think rationally, and to deal effectively with the environment. Okay, and then the different theories that we have. So the classical approaches, what are the different theories? And then we also saw uh, the contemporary theory, the one theory, which is your Gardner's theory. And then process oriented theory, and then the other different theories. So, and then the last part is your emotional intelligence theory. And we also saw what is emotional intelligence. Right, so with that, we finish the intelligence part. Next, we get into the next part of this unit, which is creativity. Okay. So creativity, what is creativity? Is it's like the ability to produce new or useful ideas, right? Helping to solve a certain problem, to communicate, and also not it's not only just thinking new, but also making it real, right? So all of that we will call it as creativity. So creativity, we have a definition over here. Creativity is defined as the tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining others, as well as ourselves. Right? So entertainment also needs creativity. So these comedians, right? Those who try to engage people, they also have creativity. So now in creativity, we have two processes. Two processing. One is thinking and then producing. So that's what I said. It's not only just thinking or generating ideas, but also making it real. So that is also a component of creativity. We can think a lot of things, we can imagine a lot of things, but how are you able to make it real? How are you turning those hypothetical things into a reality? So that also requires creativity. Now we see the different theories under creativity. Okay, so the first theory is your psychoanalytic theory. So psychoanalysis itself means that was given by this famous person, Sigmund Freud, right? So he said he mainly emphasized on unconscious. We all know that. Okay, so he said whatever creativity that we carry is just the expression of our unconscious desires. Right. So, like in yesterday's class, we saw something called sublimation. Right. So we said that whatever anger that we carry or whatever unacceptable emotions that we carry, we would try to show it in a way that is acceptable. Like if you have anger or sadness and you cannot show it in a very in a way that affects others or affects the environment, but so you will go and show it in an acceptable, like uh, writing a poem or drawing something, right? So all of that is sublimation. So that is what like creativity is something that expresses your unconscious desires. And then he also said creativity is like the healthy way. Okay, it's like one way, healthy way to channel all your drives and your unfulfilled wishes, right? So the example that we talked about, how you write poetry about losing a loved one as a way to cope with it, right? So all of that is like the creativity you show of your unconscious desires or your drives or your unfulfilled wishes that you have. So that is what this person, Sigmund Freud, mainly focused on. psychoanalytical theory of creativity. Now, next we have theory called associative theory. So this theory was given by Ribot. Okay, so he said creativity is like a combination of the old ideas that we already carry into a new idea. So whatever that we have learned already, we would try to associate it with each other, and then we bring a new idea or a new concept. So that is your associative theory talks about. So that means when you have more associations, that means when you have a lot of old ideas, you will be able to associate it well, and then you will be able to have make a lot of combinations, permutations, right? So all of that, when you make it, you will have more creativity. So that is what this theory mainly talked about. So if you want to relate it well, you can see chefs in hotels. So they try to make new dishes. How will they make with whatever that they have learned already? They would try to mix two dishes, two cuisines, right? So they would try to mix it, and then they will invent a new dish. So all of that is your associative theory of creativity, right? So then we go to the principles of insight. So principles of insight is also another theory that was given by Gestalt. So Gestalt psychology, you all know that whole is greater than the sum of its. Okay, so that is your Gestalt psychology. So this principles of insight is given by Gestalt. So he said that creativity as new thoughts or insights that suddenly emerge in a person's mind. So insights are nothing but the aha moment that we carry, right? So the aha moment, the sudden aha moment, like solution, that appears all at once, suddenly. You will not even be thinking about it. You will be doing something else. But then suddenly something will strike, and then you will understand why things like this happen, or why how you will solve a certain issue. Right. So all of that you will call it as insight. So that is what the Gestalt psychology talks about, the aha moment or the insight. Okay, so this also talks how trial and error method or the environmental stimuli does not help much, but re-seeing the problem or realization of a problem solution. So when you think about a problem again and again, instead of encountering a solution, or instead of putting a solution and then see if it's working or not, and then using another solution to see if it's working or not, you understand through re-seeing that problem again and again. You think about that problem for a lot of time, and then you go out, forget about it, you do some other work. At that time only there will be some kind of this aha moment coming up. So that is what this theory mainly talks about. So that, and then your congestion theory. So this theory was given by Guilford. Okay, so he said that we have different traits. So this creative people, they have different traits. So what could be the different traits? One could be, here it's given as word flow thinking, originality, redefinition involving pictorial, symbolic, and ideological expansion. So like the fluency that we have, right? So the many ideas that could be generated by this creative people, or the flexibility, having that open-mindedness. If this doesn't work, it's okay. I can go to something else. I can create some other idea. So shifting the perspectives, right? So all of that is a quality of a creative individual. Originality, coming up with uncommon ideas instead of just copying or trying to change something, okay, that was already existing. So that is your originality. And then also this redefinition into pictorial. So all of that is like, the elaboration part. So elaboration part means adding more details to something. So you draw a plain picture, and in that they would try to add more details that would make their art or the picture look more distinct. Right. So the adding details or building on the ideas, or also explaining the different aspects in a different way. So all of that is this congestion theory. This you can also relate it with the Guilford's intelligence theory that we talked about. So in Guilford's intelligence theory, we saw this three components, right? Which is the operation, uh, contents, and products. So how they are also combining with each other and they are producing the product. So that is your visual, whatever the units, classes that you develop. So that is this congestion theory mainly talking about. Next, we go to the nature of creativity. What are the different aspects or what are the characteristics of creativity? One is it is development oriented and always growing. So that means it is something you can always produce new and also original with your developmental aspects. And then it enhances the quality of material or matter. It varies according to intellectual ability and is related to intelligence. So creativity comes with intelligence. So that is what your book also talks about. And there are other theories that tells creativity and intelligence are totally different. They are not related to each other. Uh, okay, so this intellectual ability, the people who are more intelligent, they are able to have good creativity level. But also in reality, we see certain other things. People who are not very intelligent, they are not very good at marks. They are also able to be very creative. Right. So in that case, we are able to see how intellectual part and creativity is not relating to each other, right? And also creativity, creative thinking is constantly changing according to new trends. That's what the open-mindedness or the not having this fixed mindset and trying to change or adapt with the situation and the flexibility that we have, right? So it brings joy to the thinker of new imagination. So mostly creative people, they'll be very happy. They always have this optimistic view. Whatever it is we can do, anything is possible. So that kind of mindset they will be having. So it involves flexibility of thought and behavior, and creative people are always ready to adopt new behaviors and fantasies, right? And then it involves re-explaining problems or seeing them with a new attitude. It includes abilities like fundamental ideas, freedom of judgment, awareness, sensitivity, and entertainment. So these are like the different abilities, so like originality, the freedom of thought, the awareness or the sensitivity. All of that is a necessary ability that is needed in creativity. So these are the different characteristics or nature of creativity. Now we have different components in it. That is creativity as an individual. So as an individual, as a individual with good creativity level, how they will behave. So first, they'll ask a lot of questions, right? They'll question everything that is around them instead of just accepting it. So that is asking many questions, having a higher self-concept. So that means they have good positive self-image that they carry, right? So whatever the idea that they will have something positive towards it. And then being more tolerant of ambiguity, so they'll be very comfortable with uncertainty that is around them. They'll be tolerant of it. Okay. And then being determined and self reliant. So determined, independent. They would like to debate a lot of stuffs and also offer alternatives to a lot of things. Right. So being determined and self reliant or independence comes with creative people. And so that is your creativity as an intelligence and creativity as a product. So this is like whatever the ideas that are generated, the outputs that we get. So how it will be. So the creative product or the creative outlet, how it will look. So it will have originality. It will be very new. It will be some. No, it will have some novelty, right? And it will be unique and diverse. So diversity. So shows variety, right? And flow means feels natural and it'll look smooth. So these people or whatever they come up with, it'll look like, yeah, this could also be developed. It is also somewhere relating with reality. So that you will call it as flow. And amplification. So amplification is makes things bigger or also better. right? So that you will call it as amplification to make something better. Okay. Next, we have creativity as a process. So in this, we have like 5 different steps. Okay, so this is also a theory, but in your book it's given like this creativity as a process. So this creativity or whatever creativity that occurs, it occurs in 5 different steps. Okay, so that is what given. And what are the steps? First is preparation. Next is incubation, intimation, illumination or insight, you can say, and then verification. So preparation is nothing but you have a problem. Now you want to go study about that problem, focusing on that problem, understanding about that problem, right? So all of that will be your preparation, and then your incubation. So if you see incubation, it's like um, you will sit with that problem. You will let that problem sit in your mind for some time. That will keep running inside your mind for some time. So that you will call it as incubation. So they are internalizing the problem into the unconscious mind. So you'll keep thinking about it. It will come in your dreams, right? So all of that is your incubation, signs of incubation. And then intimation. So intimation is where uh, you will feel like you got the solution, getting a feeling that a solution is coming. You'll feel like, yeah, something is coming. You know that you will call it a skip of the tongue phenomenon. So like the answer is coming somewhere. It's here in my throat. I'm not able to say it out. You know that part is what intimation talks about. Feels like the solution coming, right? This is your third step. And then illumination or insight. So so this is where after intimation, so that is your feeling like the solution is coming. After that you'll be like, let me not think about it anymore. I am done with thinking about it. Even after incubation you will think the same way. You will think like, I'm done with thinking about this. This is so frustrating, so let me go focus on certain other things, distract myself. So you will go do all of that. That is when suddenly this intimation, this tip of the tongue comes into play, and then your elimination also comes. So elimination or insight, we talked about this in the gestalt theory. So gestalt principles of intelligence, we talked about, principles of insights, we talked about the aha moment. Likewise here also comes the aha moment, the creative idea emerging into the conscious awareness. Okay, suddenly getting the solution to a certain thing. Despite you will not be thinking about it at all, but still you will get that solution. So that is your illumination or insight. And then comes your last step, which is verification. So verification is where consciously verifying, elaborating, and applying the idea. So that means you try to test it and also redefine those ideas. So that is where you will try to use this trial and error method, see if it's actually working. If it's not working, you will try to apply it to a lot of people around you and then see if it's actually working. So all of this verification process will happen, I think. So these are the 5 different processes uh, for creativity, or 5 different steps that needs for an individual to have creative thinking or creative ideas. One is preparation, incubation, intimation, elimination or insight, and then your verification. Next, we see the different components of creativity. Okay, so there are like 4 different components given. One is your continuity. Next is your flexibility, originality, and expansion. Okay, so continuity is nothing but fluency, the ability to consistently change in a useful manner, generating different types of ideas continuously. So generating many ideas quickly. So the quantity part, right? So all of that will be focused over here. The continuity or the fluency that you get with generating ideas. Okay. And then we have the next component, that is flexibility. So flexibility is where you would try to shift the approaches, as we all talked about, the open-mindedness, not having the fixed mindedness. So the trait of self-control, foresightedness, and consideration for others' preferences. So brainstorming, right? All of that will come over here. Despite, if you had generated an idea, that doesn't mean that idea is the only correct idea. You are also open to others telling ideas how, your idea could also be wrong. So it involves adapting thoughts according to time and circumstances, adapting to new situations. So all of that will be what flexibility. And then um, the next component, which is originality. So producing something novel, something rare, something that's unusual, right? So all of that will be a component of creativity. So creative individuals prefer novel ideas over older ones. They are strong-willed, industrious. Industrious means they are action-oriented and courageous, always eager to start tasks independently with unique opinions. So that is your originality. They would not want to copy others. They would want to create new ideas on their own. All of that will be your originality. And then expansion. So expansion is also elaboration. So that's what we already saw. So elaboration is nothing but adding, certain details to certain things, exaggerating thing, elaborating a thing, or even explaining certain thing rich with rich vocabulary, trying to make certain thing understand with a lot of examples. All of that will be your expansion. So these are the different components of creativity. One is continuity. Continuity is nothing but the part that is relating to fluency. Flexibility, originality, and expansion is nothing but the elaboration. Next, we have process. So this creative process. So this is something we already saw. It's just a repetition. So the 5 steps that we saw: the preparation, incubation, intimation, elimination or insight, and verification. Okay, next we see the features. So this also is just the repetition. Okay, so the originality or the innovation that we carry, or the high degree of intellectual ability that an individual needs. So we saw, right, the creativity and intelligence, how they are related with each other. Flexibility, problem solving, knowledge, adapting to new situation, power of imagination, and the ability to check the correctness of imagination, right? Being open, verifying it, analyzing it again and again, criticizing it, open to criticisms. So all of that will be a feature of creativity, multiple dimensions and areas that we have, trying to understand multiple dimensions. Right? So all of that you will have, call it as the features of creativity. Next, we get into characteristics of creative people. So creative people, they possess a broad range of knowledge. That means they have wide knowledge in whatever subject that they study or whatever that they want to excel, they have wide knowledge about it. And they also have, good mental imagery about it. So that means they'll be able to have a good concept about whatever that they know. Instead of just mugging up, instead of just saying whatever that is, they will really know about it. So that is your creative characteristics of creative individuals. And then they are open to new. So whatever the flexibility part that we said. So this is just the um, repetition. So they tend to have more vivid dreams and daydreams. So they think a lot. So that means they have a lot of ideas coming up, a lot of situations that they can generate. So with that only they will be a daydreamer, right? So with that only they will also be able to generate a lot of ideas. And then creative people value their independence. They like being alone. They like autonomy. They like being out of control, right? So all of that is a characteristic of creative people. Like they really value freedom. While they may be unconventional in their work, they are not necessarily so in other aspects of life. So whatever work that they do, or this job that they go to, they might look like they are not fitting in that role, or they are not fitting in that environment. But that doesn't mean they are not good at it. It's just that the way they do it will be different. Okay, so that is the characteristic of creative people. So one is the They have a broad range of knowledge. They have good mental imagery, and they are open to new experiences, flexible. They have good, they are good daydreamers, good with dreaming, but they not only daydream, they also put into action. So that is the distinction between the people who are daydreaming only and the people who are creative. So creative people, they value freedom and intelligence, I mean independence, and they are also unconventional. So that means they are not ordinary. They are not like everybody else. And then development of creative skills. So for a creative skill to develop, we have like four components that is needed. One is imagination. So that means they should be able to form new mental pictures, especially of things that they have never seen, right? So they should be able to imagine something that has never been there. And they should also be able to tell it out to people, make them understand. And so all of that is like the development of creative, one aspect of developing creative skill. And then observation, actively looking around the world, observing everything that is happening around, why this is happening, questioning everything that is happening around, right? So all of that is also uh, a characteristic. And then understanding. So when they learn something, when they understand something, they make sure that they understand the topic very clearly. They grasp the topic very clearly before creating it. So that deep knowledge or the wide knowledge that we saw, right? So all of that they would carry very well. And then creation, the inherent ability to build new ideas and solve problems. So combining the imagination part, observation part, or the understanding part, right? So they combine this and they produce something that is very new. So that is the development of creative skills. Next, we have methods to develop creativity. So far we saw the different steps or the processes in order to have creativity developed. Okay, and what are the features or the characteristics that the individual will be carrying? And we also saw the development, how it will be developed. So the way they imagine, the way they observe certain things, how they understand certain things, all of that only will make the individual create something. Now we are getting into how they create. What are the methods that they have to create something? Okay, so one is synectic. Synectics, we would say. So synectic is like the method, a problem-solving methodology that stimulates thought processes. It assumes that the creative process can be described and taught, and individuals and group creativity are analogous. So that means, they would try to make the strange idea very familiar. Okay, and also they have the ability to make this familiar idea that whatever that we are used to, they have the ability to make it strange using analogies. They would say analogous. Okay, so analogies. They would use something like that, and they would be able to change everything. So something that's very rare, we would never believe it, but then they would try to change it into that is like look like it's familiar, or whatever that we follow every day. They would try to question it and say this is not something very useful. So that is your synaptics. And your morphological analysis. So morphological analysis developed by this person called Fritz Vicky. So he said, we explore all the possible solutions to a multidimensional, non-quantified complex problem by breaking it down into essential sub-concepts. So that means breaking the complex problem into parts, recombining them systematically to find new solutions. It's all of that is like the morphology. Morphology is nothing but tiny parts that you segregate it and then you try to rebuild it and understand how they are. Right? So that is your morphological analysis. And then quality description or attribute listing. So it involves describing the qualities of any trait and considering the possible changes or improvements for every quality of a product. So, okay, like listing all the qualities of a product or a problem and then thinking the ways to change it or to solve it. So whatever the problems that is present, so they list it out. What are the problems and how the problems are occurring, and then they would try to change it. So that is your quality description, listing all the qualities of a problem, qualities of a trait, qualities of a particular product, and then they would see which is not working, which is working, and then they would try to change it. That is your quality description, or you can also call it as attribute listing. So next comes the method called brainstorming. So you all will be familiar with it. So this was given by this person called Alex Osborne. So he said this is a process for developing creative solutions to problems. So like, generating some solution without trying to follow whatever that you have already carried. Okay, so that is your brainstorming. So there are like 4 basic rules for brainstorming to occur. No criticism during the session. So this brainstorming, you can also do it as a session. You can also have a group that is present. So this you can also see in different companies where they will have a discussion, and in that discussion they would try to brainstorm. That means whatever the problem that they are having, they would try to see why it's happening, what else they can do. Right. So that is like the brainstorming. So first rule under it is no criticism during the session. Like whatever that is there or creativity. So these are the different methods, the 4 different methods when it comes to creativity. Synectics. So synectics are nothing but making the strange look familiar and making the familiar look strange, and how it can be taught to people or to group. Okay, through analogies. Okay, and then morphology is like breaking down the things into small parts and then understanding. So that is morphological analysis. And then quality description is where try to list all the qualities of the product, all the qualities of that product that you study. And then you try to think of the ways that you can change them one by one. You will understand them. And then your brainstorming. So that is where group, you will sit as a group, you will discuss about it, and then you will generate ideas with these 4 rules. One is your no criticism, welcoming the unusual ideas, aim for quantity, combining and improving the ideas. So these are the different 4 main methods that we follow to develop creativity. And then we have types of creativity. So there are like 4 different types: deliberate and cognitive creativity, deliberate and emotional creativity, spontaneous and cognitive creativity, spontaneous and emotional creativity. So deliberate and cognitive creativity. So that means uh, deliberate and cognitive means the individual will be hardworking, and they will also be expertise in something. So that is your deliberate and cognitive creativity. So this type involves purposeful, knowledge-based creativity. People with this type of creativity are proficient at research problem solving. So that's what we have 2 components in that. One is hardworking and expertise. So a scientist developing a vaccine. So this scientist, they already have expertise. Okay, yeah, in developing vaccines or understanding certain virus, right? And they also are hardworking. So these are like the different qualities of this type of creativity. They require dedication, time, and execution.